Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brendon DeRouin, Chief Distribution Officer for E4, and you are on the BREW, Building Relationships Every Week. Today is Wednesday, June 9th, and our guest today is our four-time running and potentially fifth if things can go his way this year, top life insurance advisor, Chris Henderson. So with that, we always got to cover today's days, and today there's just a couple of them, and the only one I think worth sharing is National Donald Duck Day. So, Chris, I don't know what you think about Donald Duck, or if you've learned anything from him, but I'll let you talk about that in a little bit. But Chris, longtime friend, great advisor, really does well. Always likes to remind me, and one of my favorite sayings is that lazy agents become wholesalers. And, I would give it back to him if he didn't have such success and proved that he isn't lazy. So with that, Chris, I'll let you share some of your secrets to success.
Thank you, Brendon. I appreciate the introduction. For the record, my favorite Disney character is Donald Duck, so that's interesting. And I did make that lazy agents become wholesaler comments probably about 14, 15 years ago when we met, and it obviously stuck in your head. So I appreciate that. Thank you for the introduction. And Brendon, thank you for allowing me to join the BREW for this week's discussion. Brendon wanted me to talk about some sales tips from the field. So what are some things that I'm doing that are helping me produce business? And kind of by design, I put together 5 or 6 fairly simple tips that I think everyone can utilize because they are simple. But in my opinion, if you utilize these simple tips and have a high level of activity, you can grow your business and sell more insurance. And that's one of the great things about the business that we're in, is that every day we wake up and we help protect businesses and families, and we get to work with great people, and you can control your income. So with that said, I'll jump into my first tip here for the group, and that is put your name on everything. So what do I mean by that? Well, let me use an example. If your furnace breaks, who do you call? When this happened to me, when I moved into my current home a few years ago, it's an older home with an older furnace. The furnace broke, and I went downstairs, and at some point in the past, a technician was there, and he slapped a sticker on the front of the furnace that said, if you need help or repairs, call this company and call this number. Who do you think I called? I called the number that was on the front of my furnace. I didn't call up a friend and ask for a referral. I didn't do any market research. I made the easy call because it was there. In our business, in the life insurance business, I think the equivalent to that is put your name on every policy that you can. Don't ever hesitate to become a servicing agent on any life, disability, or long-term care policy. I know it creates some work, and I know in doing that, there is no immediate revenue because there's no trail income on fixed insurance products. However, you are setting yourself up for 2 future potential sales. The first potential is you can produce revenue via policy review. Anytime you take over a policy via servicing agent, that should be an automatic trigger to do a policy review. And policy reviews are golden. I learned this from Brendon. I bet over 50% of the policy reviews I do lead to some sort of sale. Maybe it's a term conversion, maybe it's an additional life insurance policy, maybe it's a referral, maybe it's another line of coverage like disability insurance. But doing a policy review usually leads to additional revenue, and you get to check the work of the prior agent. The other thing that's nice about doing this type of work is there is no downside. What's the worst thing that's going to happen if you meet with a client, you spend some time, and they don't purchase anything? You've added value to your client, and it's furthered the relationship. So let's say that happens and nothing, there's no sale made at that point in time. Well, what you've done is you've planted the seeds for future business, because now that client, every time they get a statement from the carrier, it's going to have your name and your number on that statement. And who are they going to call? Hopefully it's going to be you. So as an example, my largest sale, life insurance sale that I made in 2020 was with a construction company here in town. And a few years prior to that, they asked me to be their servicing agent on a bunch of corporate-owned life insurance policies to fund their buy-sell. So I met with them. We took everything over. We put my name on it. I put everything into a summary, went out and met with them and spent some time, and nothing happened. However, 2 years later, they do a valuation on their business. Now their business valuation has doubled since the last time they bought life insurance. The CFO calls me up and she says, how quickly can you help us get $15 million more in corporate-owned life insurance to fund our buy-sell? She called me because I'm her guy. I was on her statement. I'd done the servicing work prior. So it plants seeds for new business. The second tip that I have is find your specialization. I'm a big believer that people are more successful in this industry if you're more specialized. The higher your specialization, the more success you can have. My specialization is the corporate market. So I spend almost all of my time dealing with employers and helping them either protect the business via corporate-owned life insurance, think key person or buy-sell, or I help these businesses put in place executive benefit plans for the benefit of their leadership team, employer paid. In both instances, my client is always the business, and I'm always collecting a premium from the business. 90% plus of my revenue, 90% of the premiums that I collect are paid for by an employer. That's my specific niche. I don't do much in the world of financial planning. I don't do much in the world of estate planning. This is my specific area, and I think it drives success because it allows me to be focused and efficient. And what I mean by focused is if I want to look for new opportunities, if I want to generate new sales, I know where to go. I know what my market looks like. I know who the people are. I know how to get access to certain accounts. So I'm focused on my prospecting, and I'm efficient when I'm in the field meeting with prospective clients because I've got a certain area that I focus on. I know the carriers I'm going to work with. I know what the products look like. I know what the case design is going to be, in part with a lot of help from E4 and Josh. And so I can repeat what I do time and time again. So my sales presentations are very standardized. Sometimes I'm meeting with sophisticated buyers, but I can do 2 or 3 meetings sometimes in a day because I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's repeatable, it's consistent. And to me, the prep time is not as substantial as it would be if I were to meet with a business in the morning and talk about key person, and then in the afternoon, meet with an attorney and work on an estate planning case. So I'm laser focused in this area. It keeps me efficient. And the other thing that it does, if you have a specialization, whatever that may be, I think it helps with referrals. Because your centers of influence, your clients, know how to place you in other relationships. They know how you work and they know what you're good at, and this will lead to future business via referrals. Lastly, I have some miscellaneous tips that I think are helpful as well. The first and maybe the most important is you need staff. I think you are selling yourself short and you're putting a ceiling on your production if you're trying to sell life insurance and do the service work. It's just too much. You can't do it both. You can't do both. I know hiring people is expensive. When I brought on Natalie on our team, initially we had her at 24 hours and then 28 hours and then 30 hours and then eventually 40 hours. And then we added someone new. So we grew that staff as we grew the business. But by having some people back in the office helping me, I'm able to go out and be a part of board meetings and do things like this and wake up every day and try to find new business opportunities and try to produce more insurance. And then the team does everything else. So they handle licensing, contracting, applications, drop tickets, collecting checks, policy delivery, calling carriers, ordering illustrations. I mean, you name it, everything. So this allows me to be out in the field, do multiple meetings in a day, be on the road, and know that stuff is being taken care of back in the office. So I think having a staff is very important. The other miscellaneous tip that I have is, and this is kind of more of a pet peeve of mine, but tell people exactly what you do. Don't use fluffy language. So for some reason in the world of financial services, which is sort of a fluffy term to start, people describe themselves and what they do in these generic ways. So if someone asks you, what do you do? I don't think it's helpful to say, I'm an investment manager, or I'm a consultant, or I'm a financial advisor, or I'm a planner. To me, those words don't mean anything. And I don't think the clients that you're trying to pick up really know what you do if you describe your profession that way. As I've done this longer and longer, I try to get more precise in terms of describing what I do every day. And so if someone says, Chris, what do you do? My response is, I sell life insurance and disability income insurance. That's what I do. And I can fill in the gaps and nuance that as the conversation goes on. But the reason why I want to be hyper specific is I don't want to ever lose an opportunity because someone doesn't know what I do. So I've had that happen. I've had friends of mine buy life insurance from other agents. And when I ask them why, I've had the response, well, I thought you were a finance guy. I thought you were an investment guy. I didn't know you did this. So I want to be really specific about what we do, because I think it creates more opportunities and people are going to know where to go if they need life insurance, disability insurance, whatever it may be. And then the last tip is show some passion and be involved. I learned this from Brendon. I give him a lot of credit. He kind of pulled me into the business in terms of saying, hey, you need to join NAFA, get on the board at NAFA, join MDRT. And now I do all that. I'm on the board of MDRT, I'm on the board of the state chapter of NAFA. I go to the MDRT meetings. I try to get involved. It allows me to help the industry, but also you meet a lot of good people and you learn a whole lot of information. So when I'm out there talking to clients, especially sophisticated clients, they hopefully see the passion in my involvement. And if you get a question from a client where they ask you, what trends do you see? What's happening in the world of life insurance? You can give a good answer because you've got passion and you're exposed to what's going on beyond just your own practice. So I know this is a short presentation. We're at 12:13. Thank you for your time. I hope these tips are helpful.
Well, thank you, Chris. I love the fluffy language. A very descriptive term, fluffy. So if anyone has questions, feel free to unmute yourself and make yourself heard, and we'll take them from there. We have a drawing as usual. Chris, would you like to pick a number between 1 and 25, please?
2.
2. All right. The winner is Derek Dummon. So congrats, Derek. And
Chris, this is Dan Peterson. I have a question for you. Maybe talk a little bit about some successes that you've had. I know you've always been a leader in life insurance, but you've really started using some annuities in some unique ways as well. And we've had the pleasure of working together and some very substantial annuity business that you've done. You want to talk a little bit about how you've expanded and found new opportunities in that area?
That's a good question. And obviously you were, a huge help in that. So the corporate owned annuities are used as part of a deferred compensation plan to provide lifetime income. The reason why I got into that is because I play a lot in the world of executive benefits, and that is a newer executive benefit that you guys helped introduce to me that I could talk to clients about. So to me, that kind of falls within my core market, corporate owned life insurance, executive benefits. This was something that I needed to get up to speed on. And you're right, we had some good success right out of the blocks.
Yeah. And you have become laser focused on trying to bird dog some more of that business.
Yes. Unsuccessfully so far, but it's still early in the year.
Yes.
And Chris, your team at M3, maybe talk just a little bit about how you network with other professionals within your team, and work together to create these opportunities.
Yeah, that's a great comment and request there, Dan. So as you can see behind my shoulder, I work at M3 Insurance. We're a privately held agency, about 350 people, pretty evenly split between employee benefits and property and casualty. So we have probably close to 60 people, salespeople on the street. So my natural market is those producers selling benefits or property casualty, along with our business development folks, to try and get into these client relationships. And it sounds easy, but it takes a lot of time to make that happen. And what we've really tried to do is just create introductions. So if I'm talking to one of our employee benefits salespeople, an account executive, I'm asking them to bring me along to a meeting that they have where they're reviewing their employee benefits, because executive benefits from the client standpoint are employee benefits. They just sit on top of their core employee benefits. And I'm asking that account executive to tell the client, hey, I'm going to bring Chris along out to this meeting. He is part of my team. He's my team's executive benefits specialist. It's that easy. Sometimes people say no, but they very rarely do. And so that's my natural market. For a lot of the corporate owned stuff, think, key person, buy, sell funding, a lot of that natural distribution sources are P&C folks, because those are, key person policies designed to protect the business. That is sort of a P&C type of coverage. So you change your story internally a little bit based on your audience, but that's our distribution source. 90% of the clients I have access to come through our benefits or P&C salespeople.
Great, thanks for that explanation.
And I guess to connect the dots for those that don't work at, M3 or a equivalent, location, you might want to partner with a PNC and or benefits, individual, across your area. So,
Chris, this is Shane Van Patten. Are you do you hold a securities license?
I do. I think it's a 65 or a 66. I can't remember what. We do a lot of advisory work, so 401k and financial planning on our team. So I've got the advisory license. We dropped all of our FINRA BD stuff about 4 or 5 years ago.
Did you have a follow-up question, Shane, or just that was that?
It was just that. I was just curious about like variable life insurance. I know in the corporate-owned life insurance marketplace, you have a lot of products that are on a variable chassis. So I just was curious to see whether you had it or not, and if you didn't have it, if you felt you were at any disadvantage not having access to those types of vehicles.
I've talked a lot about Brendon with this, and it doesn't make sense for our agency to have that license for some of the compliance stuff. But I was in a prospect meeting yesterday for a client that had they were looking at some variable options, and then I presented a different option. And one of the comments I made is, there's a different philosophy of looking at this, and a lot of what I sell are guarantees, and they didn't have that with their current variable option they were looking at. So to me, I'm not overly hamstrung by that at all. We just made the decision that it makes sense not to deal with FINRA right now. And I'm not aware of any sales I lost because of not having my 7 or 6.
Chris, this is Jeremy Vidmar. I'm just really curious, what does M3 stand for?
Good question. The 3 founders, Mortensen, Matsell, and Meldrum.
So it could be a legal firm too.
That's why we got rid of the name. Yeah, now it's just M3 Insurance. Those names kind of carried some weight back here, several years ago when the founders were still in business in Dane County. But as we've expanded outside of Madison and Dane County, we would call on someone and they would ask if we were an accounting firm or a legal firm. So we just changed the name.
Thanks.
You bet.
No fluffy language, no mixed names, just we do insurance. So, well, thank you, Chris. Truly do appreciate it. Thanks for all in attendance. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, everyone.